Rakhine is no longer just a battlefield. It is a space where the Arakan Army has built a parallel system of rule, courts, taxation, administration, and security while the Myanmar junta loses ground. That is why the AA is now best understood as a proto-state, not recognized, but increasingly governing like one. The Arakan army did not become powerful just by winning battles. It became something more durable, a governing authority that now administers territory, collects taxes, runs justice systems, and shapes daily life across much of Rakhine state. That is why analysts increasingly describe it as a proto state rather than only an insurgent group. The story starts with politics, not just war. The IA was founded in 2009, and by 2019, its leadership was already talking about confederation status for Rakhine, showing that the movement's goal was never only military resistance, but a different political order. The next step was building parallel institutions. In late 2019, the AA/ULA announced the Arakan People's Authority, which began taking on civil administration, policing, judicial functions, humanitarian coordination, and tax collection. By 2020, that is a major threshold. Once a rebel movement starts doing the work of local government, it stops looking like a temporary rebellion and starts looking like a substate authority. Then came territorial consolidation. By the period covered in the research, the AA had gained control over 14 of 17 townships in Rakhine, including Maungdao and Taungup, and it also captured and township's Western Regional Command headquarters. Those gains gave it control over much of the Bangladesh border and made it the de facto governing authority across most of Rakhine. The AA's proto-state character is strongest in the way it governs. The research describes township-level committees handling social issues, taxation, land matters, and criminal referrals to ULA/AA justice bodies. In other words, the AA is not just holding territory, it is managing civilian life through institutions that mirror state functions. The post 2021 coup environment made this transformation much faster. Myanmar's central state weakened badly, while the IA expanded administration across Rakhine. By late 2023 and into 2025 to 26, reporting described the AA/ULA as exercising de facto authority over roughly 90% of the state, while the junta increasingly relied on airstrikes and long range artillery instead of ground control. This also matters regionally. Rakhine sits on the Bay of Bengal and borders Bangladesh, so AA control affects border security, displacement flows, Chinese infrastructure interests, and the wider Bay of Bengal balance. China's interests in Kyaukphyu and the oil and gas pipelines through An Township are now directly exposed to AA control, which is one reason Beijing is uneasy about the group's rise. The most important limit is also the clearest reason it is still called a proto state and not a state. The AA has no international recognition, cannot issue legally recognized citizenship, and does not operate a full civil registry. The ANU brief also shows that this creates new vulnerabilities, especially for Rohingya communities living under AA rule. The Arakan Army became a proto state by doing what states do: governing territory, enforcing rules, collecting revenue, and replacing the old order in practice, even while lacking the legal recognition of sovereignty.